Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
Ciao Juventini, welcome back to the AJC. All right, I'm Alberto. I've got Omer with me, and we are going to talk about Juve's draw against Bologna. All right, so obviously the result not getting the way we wanted, but there's a lot to talk about in the aftermath of this one. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of time here. Say what's up to everybody in the chat. First off, Omer, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. I'm all good. Everything is fine.
All right, and we no shortage of things to talk about, so we're gonna get into the game and everything. I could see the live chat is on fire already, talking Paul Pogba, talking Alexandro, and we're obviously gonna get to all that. I want to say a big thank you to guys like this, Tony Trim dropping in, saying ciao tutti, dropping a like. But going to check out the replay probably because of work and everything. But we just love that. If everybody could take a minute and just like the video while you're here, that goes a long way. Ciao to everybody already with us. All right, Vidad, Jace KP, all right, Joey Cappuccino, RB Comps, Alex P, Matt in here. Let's go, everybody. A lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. We're going to start off, again, just getting some of the housekeeping out of the way. Thank you to everybody who has chosen to support us in any of the ways available. All right, Ciao Hanin coming in now. Obviously, we have Super Chat, we have the merch store, and then we have memberships. Ron Rossitano, during the live watch along yesterday, gifted 5 memberships. All right, so that's absolutely great gesture, and we'll deal with that. Okay, we do have the winner for the jersey yesterday. It's TX Juventino, and we're gonna put that out on Twitter. We still don't know where he is located, he or she. And if it happens to be outside of Canada, that means we still have to pick a Canadian winner. So there could be potentially 2 kits given out. All right. Now, that said, we're going to give you what's going on in the news today, but we're going to tackle that after the match replay. Okay. So, just our recap. But the headlines are Bonucci and Lazio, maybe potentially something going down. Sule and Caio Jorge are heading to Frosinone, and that's a done deal, correct, Omer?
Yeah, that's a done deal.
That's done deal.
By multiple sources.
Miretti and Caviglia tipped to stay with Juventus this season. And I think we can all agree that should be the way it goes down. I believe they should be staying at Juventus.
Yeah, as things turned out, we need midfielders, and it appears like no one's coming in. So keep whoever you can and whoever you need, especially youngsters.
There you go. Drop points. We got a draw. We did drop. We dropped a couple there. I think this one should have been a victory, Apex. So that's kind of what we mean by drop points. It's not max points there. Massive thank you to David there for the Super Chat donation. All right. Much appreciated. Yes. Okay, everybody. All right. We dropped 2 points, 3 points. Some people say we didn't drop points, but it's because we got the draw. Let's just clear this up so we can move on. Omer, did we drop points?
Yeah, 2.
Yes, we dropped 2 points. Okay. Thank you. I'm not just losing my mind at my old age. Okay.
Semantics are interesting.
Yeah, now we get to starting lineups were pretty much what we expected, other than McKennie was getting tipped off to start in the midfield, but we actually saw Fagioli start. Outside of that, it was as expected, Tech out with a knock, so Perin starts. The Brazilian trio at center back, and then, of course, Weah, Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot. We have Cambiasso again on the left side, Chiesa, Vlahovic up top. I don't think anybody had any issues with the starting lineup. Omar, did you have any issues? I don't think any of us did.
The regular one, the Sandro one. Besides that, yeah, more of the same. Another different lineup.
And again, of course, that had to come into play. It's funny with Sandro. After our first game, and we know everybody's very familiar here with old Nonies, okay, and his constant Sandro has not been a problem. Sandro has not been a problem. And I continue to push back saying it's just time, man. It's time to usher in the new wave. It's time to move away from it. I said one game is not going to do anything for me, and I know he's going to fade. It's just a matter of time. Even I didn't think it would be game 2. And this was an awful showing for him and whatnot. But we'll talk about the highlights. I mean, honestly, the way the game started, Bologna did look the more eager to get after that first one than Juventus. Juve, yeah, just sloppy. And it continued for the entirety of the first half as far as passing goes. And, man, our passing was awful in the first half. But Bologna gets off to the good start. Ferguson finding space. Sandro abandoning Ferguson to go and help Bremer on a play where I think he didn't need any help at all. I thought he was in fine situation. It turned out to be a 50-50, but Sandro goes in. He actually almost hurts Bremer and takes him out and lets his man go free. And Ferguson slots home. Juve's down 1-0. Omer?
Yeah, that's basically it. He opened the space by going out, left Ferguson all alone, and almost took Bremer out. So just, I don't know how to describe it. Just like those brain fart moments he has sometimes, and it cost us a goal and put us under pressure, and we're not doing so well under pressure. At least we didn't past season. So tough break, but we carry on.
Yeah, and we've got some messages coming in here through the live chat, and LA Juve just saying, "What's up, fellas? To all you team, let's calm down. It's only second game of the season. We'll see a different spirit, and I'm sure we'll do way better. Sandro's got to go." So there you go. We can still be calm about it. I mean, ultimately, we're still undefeated. We did not lose, okay? But this one stings because I think the win got away from us and in the first half, and we'll talk about it, okay? There's an interesting comment here, which we're definitely going to get to, and this is, we cannot start Fagioli. He looked out of his element. We're definitely going to get into all this, okay? But we'll continue on. Bologna off to the 1-0 start. To be honest, there's not much in that first half for Juventus. If we want to talk highlights, recaps, opportunities, obviously we did have the move with Timothy Weah coming up the side, dropping a low hard cross, hits the trailing hand. No call, not looked at, and this is where you see the images now all over social media and everybody getting into this and getting fired up. Omer, your thoughts on this play before we get to Arbitro Nick and his write-up for us and everything?
Oh yeah, I was just about to ask if we have his comments. That's a penalty, clear penalty for me. If we got that penalty against us, I wouldn't blink on it. I just say that's what it is. I mean, I don't know if the rules have changed a bit because they do it every season and alter it just a bit. But I mean, it only touched his hand. Natural movement, not natural movement. The hand stopped the ball from going to where it should have been and ended the play. Inside the area, that's a clear handball. I know there are rules that if it ricochets off his body or something, or maybe if his hand was close to his body, natural movement of the hand, all of that stuff. But at the end, the hand prevented the ball, and only the end prevented the ball from reaching whoever was in the center.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about this because, and he covers it very, very well here, but this is actually more a problem with how the rule is enforced and not the rule, because it's not a PK. And the reason we feel so strongly about it, the reason that these images are across social media is because of the fact the rule hasn't been enforced properly. But if your trailing arm, which is laid out to support your body, and if the ball hits that, it is not supposed to be a PK according to the IFAB. And Nick comes in with a beautiful explanation, and he just says, "I'd like to preface this by saying that this type of handball has very often been called incorrectly, not only in Serie A, but all over the world. But of course, especially in Serie A. He said that Iranian referee Fagani got this incorrect in the World Cup for Portugal. He said Milan were also awarded a penalty like this versus Napoli in the Champions League. But he says, as per the IFAB, it reads, it is not an offense if the ball touches a player's hand arm when a player falls and the hand/arm is between the body and the ground to support the body, but not extended laterally or vertically away from the body. So if it's heading downwards between your body and the ground to protect yourself, brace yourself for the fall, it's good. If it's out in any way away from the body, then it changes, which again could create a little bit of a gray area, but it is not a handball. So, yeah, there you go. He says right call to not give that PK. It's just going to infuriate everybody because we have seen it called incorrectly so many times. So there you have it on that particular one. Now, again, like I said, there's not much in the first half. We could kind of pretty much end there and just talk about what we were seeing in the first half. What we didn't like. What was there anything we did like? Omer, your thoughts at first half, at halftime there?
Well, there was nothing positive to mention from that half. It was just horrible. So let's look at all the negatives. I think Juve didn't handle the rain. They just couldn't handle the heavy rain. Every pass was off. They had trouble turning, chasing, building anything. And Bologna took advantage of that and got their goal. That's what you get with the smaller teams in Italy. You give them half a chance and they make you work the entire match. So that was the case that I saw. In the second half, the rain stopped and it looked to be a bit more fluid, and Bologna looked a bit more tired.
Yeah.
But I thought the midfield was, to be honest, they don't complement each other well. They were all very defensive, so it took a lot of time for everyone to join the attack. By the time they joined, they had to run back. And immediately when Pogba stepped in, then there was someone in the middle that worked between the lines, what Miretti did in the previous game. And sad to say that he was sorely missed, but I don't think Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot is a good mix. They're all working very hard defensively and not a lot offensively.
Yeah.
The flanks were, I guess, fine. I mean, I thought about it like who was the best player at halftime, and it was no one. Just everyone was bad. No one did what he should have done. So that's like my recap of it.
Yeah. I want to say here, Alex, on the highlight package I went through, I couldn't tell if this was in the first half or second half. It was really weird, but we are going to talk about this situation because that one was a foul. That was a PK for sure, the one where he goes through Chiesa's back. He actually even hits his hand with the ball after he goes. So take one or the other, right through Chiesa's back or hitting the hand with the ball on the way down. Regardless, ultimately, everyone knows how I usually stand with things like that is you got to move on and you got to get the job done. You can't leave it in the hands of the officials, especially in Serie A. But that one should have been a call, okay, in my opinion. As far as the first half goes and our play, the things that stuck out to me were, number one of the great things we were doing against Udinese was the movement off the ball. And we looked far too stagnant against Bologna in the first half. Another thing we were doing was we were actually rotating nicely in the middle, and it opened up and created space even on the flank and everything. And I thought our middle play was absolutely abysmal. Locatelli was piss poor. Fagioli was doing next to nothing. Even Rabiot first half, like our midfield did nothing to help us in the first half. Okay, so the good, strong positives were not there. And overall, just the attitude wasn't where it needed to be, but we were bad in that first half. Really, really bad. It's hard to pick away good things. You just knew that the second half had to be a complete change to turn things around for us. And thankfully, it was. And we saw that intent and that urgency in the second half, which was great. So I appreciated that, at least, because you saw it right from the kickoff in the second half. Okay, we'll get into this and whatnot. Omer, okay, thought we lost you there for a second.
No.
Second half, much more intent from Juve, like I say, kicking things off. Okay, Chiesa working the wing, finding a low hard cross again. Nobody running in goal. Just thought he was going to end up crossing it around the spot and whatnot, so nobody made the run in here. Weah ends up getting a nice attempt, a shot, and a rebound hit wide by Bremer. That was a good moment for us. And then Vlahovic had a nice, strong hold-up play, and then dished it off to a run off the flank. Cross to the back post. Fagioli, man, he's going to want that back and probably had nightmares about it. Good opportunity for him, and he shanked it, went completely wide, not far out. That one was a frustrating one. He was subbed off shortly after. Not anything to do with that, but more so trying to get Paul Pogba on the pitch, who came in. We were seeing some of the comments in the live chat earlier about Pogba at 50%, whatever, ended up being our midfield. That really says a lot about what we were seeing in the game and whatnot, but a better second half. Ultimately, we do find a goal. There was a moment with Bologna, obviously, fast break, Xerxes, shot rebound, Perin saves it. Illing Jr., contact there. PK, Omer?
Yeah, that's a PK.
Yeah. My heart and my bias during the watch along, watching it full speed, giving him the benefit of doubt, thinking, okay, maybe he's got a little bit of the angle there and whatnot, because it looked like Ndoye was trying to move his leg outwards, but Illing at position, it's a PK. It's a PK. He should have potentially been sent off. We'll get L'Arbitro Nick's ruling on that thing, and essentially he says Illing and Ndoye, he says, both going side to side in the penalty area to anticipate the pass coming in. Here we're trying to decide where the point of contact between the players was and who had established their position in front of the ball. We definitely see side-to-side contact while fighting for a position, which is 100% okay. It seems as though Ndoye may have established his position in front of the ball. Did Illing Jr. make contact with his leg and trip Ndoye? Looking at several camera angles, all right, it is very difficult to tell what exactly happened, considering most of the contact was side to side, and that Di Bello did let a lot of that go throughout the game. Not giving a foul in live time is reasonable. Because there was no clear angle that showed a trip, VAR correctly did not intervene. This call is supportable. However, if Di Bello had called this immediately on the field, a non-VAR intervention will work the other way too. There is no conclusive evidence one way or another, so the referee's decision on the field stands. And he also adds, great decision by VAR. So there you go. I think it's a clear penalty and whatnot, but he says it is supportable, and the reasons for intervention, it's always good to hear the action, because you see it constantly when you're watching a game. Why is this being looked at? Why isn't this being looked at? And whatnot. So it's nice to have that kind of understanding of why exactly they're not intervening on certain ones and why they are on others. But there you have. For us, though, clear penalty. We got away with one there, okay?
On the other hand, Rocky, the guy who's in charge of designating the referees, said that he might suspend Di Bello because of that decision. So I don't know, Nick. I mean, I think it could go either way. The problem with it is that it's a double foul, because if you call that penalty, you also give a red card to Illing.
Yeah.
And that might be a tougher decision to make.
Yeah.
And because maybe it should be a red card. I don't know. I think it's a foul. If it happened the other way around, I would be furious that it wasn't called.
I would be furious too if it was the other way around. It's one of these things, again, if you're looking at what was called, what wasn't called throughout the game. But as soon as you place that in the penalty area, we're lying to ourselves if we're saying that it doesn't change, because it does. So again, it's just one of those things. And Davide coming in saying, I agree with the PK reasoning that you read out from Arbitro Nick. And Arbitro Nick is literally giving this to us from IFAB. And it's full explanations. It's like exactly how they're calling things, what they're looking at, when and where VAR and how it's to be used. So it's interesting because we can find inconsistencies or whatnot throughout. But for this one, it is what it is. Now, we will talk about the goal because Paul Pogba, as many were mentioning, at 50%, looked our best midfield by a country mile. And 5 players surrounding Paul Pogba. Okay. I can guarantee you what the majority of our midfielders would be trying to do in that scenario. Paul Pogba muscles through one challenge, surrounded by 5, slips the ball through. Okay, Meg's a player on the pass, finds Illing Jr. I was getting pissy that Illing Jr. was stopping and slowing down on the wing as he's making this run. Man, he put that thing on a platter for Dusan Vlahovic, and a hell of a header from Vlahovic. Perfect placement and no chance for Skorupski, who was completely outstretched and had no chance on getting this. We equalize. We have 10 minutes to kind of get things done. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that game winner, but all is not lost in a 1-1 drop, but it's frustrating. And for me, it really goes back to that wasted first half. And it's just one of those things where Juve, we have to get better from the outset. We have to play longer periods of strong football. We are capable of doing this, and then a little like an adverse result, okay, like this, again starts changing our minds on players and who's doing what formations. We're already hearing get out of this 3-5-2 and all this. It's like, I don't think we need to get to this extent over the first adverse result in game 2. I think it just comes down to realizing you can't expect victories if you're not putting in full shifts. And the first half was completely wasted from us. And honestly, I don't expect to win when you play like that. Udinese to Bologna was going to be a big change. And even though I called a 3-0 victory, whatnot, I thought we would get up and we would still see it. But I still expected problems from Bologna. All of us did. Okay, and we literally said yesterday on the Matchday Live, I said, if you're not prepared for Mota to have some answers for us and make life difficult, we're not giving them enough credit. They have lofty ambitions for their season and everything like that, but we got to be ready. We got to adjust. And to be honest, we weren't ready from the outset. And that first half is what got us away from the victory, in my personal opinion. We want to talk about the foul on Chiesa, that potential handball. Well, we see the Illing one, despite how IFAB rules apply and people saying that it's supportable or even non-supportable. For me, always take matters into your own hands. Do not leave it up to the officials. So for me, this one got away from us in the first half. Omer, your kind of summary on the entire game. Do you share the sentiments as I do about the first half kind of ruining it for us?
Yeah, the first half was really bad. I mean, we couldn't do anything. There are a few problems. I have a few points. I will just go through them. So, first of all, our midfield is not pressing the way it should, because our forwards are pressing. They were, and the wings were pushing up, but the midfield stayed too far back. So once you beat the press, that's when you can run forward, and that's when they got us. And so they need to take more part. And we talked about it last season. The deep defensive line, including the midfield, prevents us from pressing. Now, you shouldn't do that all game long, but there are periods when you need to press that you should push up, especially if you don't have enough of the ball like we did in the first half. And you can play long balls and you need to play short passes because of the heavy rain. So that's something that they need to work on and improve, or otherwise we'll just see the same stuff we saw last season. Um, Bologna were good. I mean, let's give credit to Bologna. They're a very well organized team. They knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't give us an inch. I mean, we couldn't break through the middle. We were pushed to the flanks. They knew how to overload the flanks. And even when they were defending for most of the second half, it was really hard for us to get in the area and create chances, even long shots. And we wanted Thiago Motta. He was one of the candidates for the team at the beginning of the season because he is a good coach. And he did make great work with Bologna last season and apparently this season too. And we've said that before the after the Milan game, they were good against Milan. A bit unlucky, but they were still good. So let's not downplay them. This isn't one of the minnows of Syria.
Yeah.
Um, Pogba, I mean, there is some sort of glow to him because if it's Rabiot there with the ball or McKennie or Fagioli or whoever, he doesn't draw five players to him. I think that because it's Pogba, everyone was standing around him, and he found a way to break through with that pass. That's what top class player gets you. He gets extra attention, which creates more space. So we're definitely going to need that, and I hope and get more playing times. Beautiful goal, beautiful. I love those type of goals. What a header! Straight into the bottom corner. No chance for the referee on a wet pitch. The ball just bounced off. I wish we'll get more chances like that because that early cross from Milling is what caught the defense off guard. Usually, we cross and we are very predictable. Yeah, the dogs are going crazy. And we're very predictable and gives the defense a lot of time just to mark everyone they want, protect the rebound, everything.
Yeah.
So we should cross the ball earlier. That foul on Chiesa wasn't the penalty. It's not that it wasn't the penalty, but I doubt anyone would call that. I rarely seen, double jump getting caught as a foul and just, going with the attacker on that occasion. They usually go with the defender. I didn't expect that to be called at all.
Yeah.
Not for a foul, at least. The handball, I didn't even see it until today.
Now, the dogs must have known what's to come, and probably with Sandro as he's going to come up because we're about to get into the player ratings, all right, and obviously talk about our Juventus official fan club, North America. Man of the match, all right? So again, we're happy to be partnered up with the official fan clubs in North America. We can also put you in touch with fan clubs abroad as well, but highly recommend joining. And despite obviously the result not going the way we wanted to, we saw some awesome watch parties going down, all right? Hollywood had a beauty one. The Toronto one looked fantastic, okay? So again, join up with the fan club. It's great, great stuff. Empire State was rocking legends. I will apologize already that Joey Cappuccino is a member of Empire State. So if you join up with them, you'll have to put up with Joey Cap. But Joey Cap is a beauty. We were happy to have him on with the Match Day Live yesterday, the preview. All right, now we're going to talk ratings, okay? So we're going to get into this. This is coming from SofaScore, and then we'll talk about our kind of ratings, and then we'll get our man of the match. But Mattia Perin finishes with a 7 from SofaScore. I mean, I don't have any problems with Mattia being raised 1 point. They all start at 6. I have no issues with that. Didn't have a ton of work, but made actually a couple decent saves that had to be made. So 7, I think, is fair. Omer, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the goal was like unstoppable. I don't think anyone would have said
Yeah.
that. So besides that, it was fine. Maybe that, drop to that Ealing foul, that Ealing penalty, alleged penalty, maybe should have, just
Swallowed it
pushed the
up,
ball
no
somewhere
rebound.
else. And yeah, not to the middle of the area, but it's not easy. It was a close shot. He was fine. He was
Yeah,
good.
it was fine. Danilo's at 7.4 for SofaScore, and I would have gone probably 7, but he's the only defender out of the 3 center backs I put even close to a 7. Um, that's for me. I'll just go down the line. Bremer, I thought,
Yeah.
is probably maybe around a 6.5. He went rogue a few times and in some questionable moments. Sandro is not even breaking even for me. just really, really poor. There's nothing left to say on Sandro, but it's below a 6. If they start off at 6, it's below a 6 for Sandro for me, man. Yeah, and like I said, Danilo is the only one that gets a 7 from me across those three center backs, and even that I think could be, maybe he's like 6.8 or something like that. But Omar, the three center backs, your ratings.
Danilo's passes were bad. He tried to, cheating the defense a couple of times and just went out. But defensively, he was relatively solid. I don't think Bremer had a great game, but I wouldn't say he was awful. Got taken out by Sandro. And Sandro, I mean, is Sandro. I didn't expect anything. I know every beginning of every season, he has one, two, three good games, and everyone said, okay, he's fine there. And then we remember it's Sandro because of some mistake. And each one of his mistakes, every brain fart he has, cost us a goal. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when he does make errors, they're usually pretty critical. But yeah, there's nothing left we could say for Sandro. But the knee guy, now also known as the chip guy, will tell you otherwise. But it's okay. We let him know in the group chat all the time. Timothy Weah getting a 7.4 from SofaScore. I probably put him. I think 7 is maybe okay.
I was actually really impressed with him. I think he had a good game. Everyone was bad in the first half. Second half, he was surprising. He was thinking out of the box. He was moving all around. He tried to create something. His speed was fundamental to creating chances. I think he had a good game,
Yeah.
relatively good game, considering he started the game a bit injured. I mean, they said he wasn't 100%.
I think he had a
I
good
thought he
game
was
too.
one of our better performers.
7 for me, 1 point up for Weah. I think 7.5 might be a stretch considering who my man of the match rating is at and what I give him. I'm going to go with a 7 for Weah. Fagioli gets a 7.3 from SofaScore, and I did not have Fagioli that high because of his first half I thought was brutal. And I thought all our midfield, honestly, Rabiot gets a 6.9, Manuel Locatelli 6.9, Fagioli 7.3. I don't think any of our mids sniff a 7, to be honest, in this game. Like those three. The second half, stronger from Fagioli, but man, maybe a 6.5 because of that second half. But I don't have any of them sniffing a 7, to be honest.
No, I think all of them had a bad game, at least the ones who started the match. And like I said, I don't think it's a good mix-up of our players. But because when Miretti played, it was almost like we had Rabiot and Locatelli playing, as a bit more deep, and he was pushing high. So it was almost like 3-4-3, the Atalanta style. Because Miretti was playing high and in the middle, and we lacked that. It was
Yeah.
evidently missing in the match. So yeah, Fajoli improved a bit, but overall, all of them were
I
not.
had Loca at like a 5.5. I gave him negative zero point 0.5. I thought he was brutal. Rabiot, even 6, and maybe Fagioli a 6.5 just because of his second half being way better. But he ultimately also had that back post one that was brutal. So maybe he saved himself
I
to an
will.
even 6 in the second half. But nonetheless, I don't have any of them sniffing a 7 like
Yeah, I
Sofa
was
scorers
actually
around.
afraid. I thought Rabiot was getting a red card in this match. He
Yeah,
took
it
out
was. He
yellow,
got an
and
early yellow there, and I thought he was pretty fortunate too. So again, we talk about missed calls and handballs and all this, and it's like get the job done because I thought he was a little fortunate too to not be sent off. Cambiaso gets a 6.5. Not involved enough, I don't think. But 6 to 6.5 is fine if they start at 6. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I just not involved enough.
no, I think they had his number. I
Yeah.
think they know exactly how he's playing, and they kind of nullified it. And because he was playing there last season, Mota knows him well, so much less impressive than the first match. But it happens, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Chiesa 6.5 rating. Do you agree?
I'd give him a 6. He was non-influential throughout the match. He didn't have a good match too. Couldn't handle the rain. Also, didn't get the passes anywhere he wanted. Pushed to the side a lot. and he didn't have a lot to do from there. So it wasn't a good game for Chiesa.
It wasn't a good game. His first half, especially. Honestly, again, a lot of the stuff I hated, which was the attitude and the complaining and the hands thrown up, whether it's warranted or not, it bugs me. But his first half was so bad. It was better in the second half. It brought him to an even six for me because his first half was so bad. So that's where I had Chiesa, to be honest. Maybe you could argue the second half he was way more influential and could have gotten up to a 6.5. Some are saying he was man of the match. Some were saying we shouldn't have taken him off. So, what did you think about the subs? Let's talk about subs for a second before we get to the last rating and then ultimately our man of the match. What did you think of the subs?
So who did we have? We had Pogba, McKennie, Milik, Ealing.
So, in order,
Uh,
and obviously we had the goal canceled. We didn't talk about the highlight relays, but that is easily a call on Vlahovic getting that one. Rabiot's offside. We know the rule. If you're deemed to be interfering with the keeper or line of sight or anything, it's called. So there was that one as well. We had Paul Pogba come in for Fagioli in the 66th. We had Illing Jr. with Cambiaso, same switch. Milik ended up coming in for Chiesa at the 74th minute. Yildiz came in for Locatelli in the 81st, and then McKennie for Weah in the 82nd.
so McKennie was fine. He actually did pretty well, I think. Ealing added another dimension that Cambiaso couldn't. Pogba is Pogba. We've talked about him. Milik was I actually didn't notice him all that much. I don't think he did anything. And Yildiz was a bit too late in a very fumbled game. Just it doesn't look like there was any structure to it from both Juve and Bologna. So he was kind of swollen up in all this mess that was going around.
Yeah,
But they did give us an extra boost, especially Ealing and Pogba.
I had honestly, I didn't have too many problems with the subs. I thought the Milik one might have been strange because we still needed to create. So I was like, I didn't know about that Chiesa one because he was more into it second half. But yeah, the Weah one. I mean, you talked about and alluded to the fact that he might have been not 100% even going into this one or whatnot. It is what it is. And to be honest, I don't mind McKennie out there. I prefer him there than playing in the midfield, if I'm being completely honest. And I thought he did an okay job. I thought he did fine. It's different for sure than when you play a Cambiaso or a Nailing Jr. or a Weah, but ultimately he is finding some ways to be effective, and he was getting some crosses in, he was getting involved, and he was getting the ball into the area. So not bad there. But the subs I thought were okay. I didn't have any problems with them, to be honest. Like I said, maybe just a little bit questionable in pulling off one of the main sources of creation when you're chasing another goal in Chiesa, but nonetheless, I get it. It's fine. Illing Jr. had entered too, and that was a source of creation. Paul Pogba did a fantastic job. The last rating we are going to obviously get to is that of Dusan Vlahovic. What was your rating for Dusan Vlahovic?
I think I'd give him a 7.5. I disagree with the disallowed goal. Great header. He was active. He looks better than he looked last season, in my opinion.
I thought this was a strong showing from Vlahovic. Did he have his mistakes still occasionally in hold up? Sure, but overall, his approach, his attitude was solid, and he was always involved, and ultimately he found the equalizer, had that goal disallowed. I can't help but wonder if he had beaten Bremer to that rebound off Weah's shot, if maybe, just maybe, that ends up in the back of the net for us. Dushan was great. I gave him a 7.5 as well. He was my man of the match for Juventus, and I think it was by a healthy margin, to be honest. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I would have liked maybe to see Keane instead of Milik. That's the only knock on the subs that I'll give. But Vlahovic was probably man of the match. His His intensity was good. I mean, yeah, he lost some balls, but that's what strikers do because they get the ball in the tightest areas and they have a lot of pressure on them. And he had two men marking him the entire time. Finally, find the breakthrough. Again, a beautiful goal and man of the match. Yeah, not a lot to take from this match and not a lot of credit to give anyone. So Dusan played 90 minutes. It was stable for the entire 90
Now,
minutes.
does anybody? So Vidal says Pogba man of the match, and you could make that argument based on the influence he carried once he entered the game.
Yeah.
But I think overall, Vlahovic for me. But we can't deny Pogba's influence when coming in. And I mean, even the goal, the equalizer, we know what the rest of the guys in the middle of the park probably would have done in that scenario surrounded by 5 players. That is what makes Pogba in a different bracket when he plays. And I've always said that about him is you can't take away the quality and you can't doubt the quality he carries and has. It's just, it is what it is. He is our best midfielder.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think we kind of gotta have someone that plays this style every match in the midfield. Either Miretti, maybe Yildiz even, definitely Pogba, but one of the midfielders who's a lot more attack oriented than the other guys and plays most of the match closer to the strikers than tracking back all the time. I think it will help with the press, and I think it will help with chance creation. Maybe Pogba in the first half. I mean, obviously he couldn't, but Pogba in the first half might have looked a bit different. Someone who can hold on to the ball, especially in a rainy match where no one seems to do that. I'm starting to think we're kind of pushing towards that, 3-4-3, but call it whatever you like. If it's a Metzala or a Trequartista or whatever, still three men in the midfield. Just that the roles are different, and I think we need that because we didn't have it last season, and it hurt us a lot.
Yeah, that obviously comes up every time we suffer and we're playing this 3-5-2, and yesterday was no different. So we're seeing we've got to play 4 at the back so that we can get into scenarios to press properly with the players up the pitch. Do
Yeah, I
you
mean, it
think
didn't work with Zakaria. Also, right? Three defensive midfielders in the middle who are better at defending is just not working for us. I don't know if Allegri can make it work or if it's not down to him, but it simply doesn't work.
but let's talk about this switch to a 4-man back. Like, number one, would you do it?
I will do it in a heartbeat, but that's
Right
not what I was
now,
saying.
given everything we have, personnel and everything, you would switch to a 4-man back.
Oh, hands down.
I'm not
I
so
would ditch
sure.
the three. For me, I would ditch the three-man defense in a heartbeat.
I'm not confident about it, to be honest. If I'm looking at our guys, and I mean, I think yesterday was kind of like a prime example, man. Like we've talked about this, and we talked about it I think yesterday on the Matchday Live as well, because you just know when something happens. 3-5-2 is like, it's this common carousel that we were on with, like, the usual complaints when stuff goes sideways, and the formation is 1-3-5-2. I've been saying for a while, it's almost more roles than it is setup and formation and what you're doing, in that sense. But if we're going to slap a 4-man across the back, I would assume that you want Danilo as a right back. I would assume we want Cambiaso as a left back. I would assume that you're going to want probably Gatti and Bremer in as the 2 center backs. My thing, and I brought it up yesterday, is if I'm looking at this, I'm not confident in having Gatti and Bremer as a 2-man pairing because I see them as playing with the same level of aggression and pushback, and sometimes you need that guy that's going to dictate everything as one of those center back roles that calls the shots for everybody. And maybe that's just me, because what I'm used to playing with and what I've seen and what I've preferred, even playing in the midfield and whatnot, is one guy like that. Maybe these 2 bruisers, whatever, could work like that. But yesterday, Bremer went rogue a bunch. I have no issues with Bremer. But you need that guy that's at the back that understands that can work with that. And I don't think Gatti and Bremer will do that. If I'm talking about Cambiaso as an outright left back, I still have questions about him defensively. It's like we could do it, but I'm not so sure it just flips the script completely for this Juventus. But then the counteracting argument is you put more of your players in their natural positions.
Yeah, and look, I've been banging that drum for a long time. It's not only when we lose or stuff that work. I don't want the three-man defense. I think it's a bit outdated, although a lot of teams play with it, but I don't see it working for a whole lot of them when it actually matters. And so I want to see you with a four-man back line. I want a 4-3-3, call it whatever you like. I want two players on the wings. I want Wea there. I want to give options to Kostic and Ealing and play all these guys in their natural positions. I think we have enough depth all around. I didn't push that hard last season because we didn't have the players for it. We didn't have the right back and the left back. It would have to be Sandro and Quadrado, and I didn't like it. But today, I think we can do it. I think we can pull it off. I'm not saying that the minute we do that, things will start to change and we'll see immediate effect. But we need to start working on that to make it work. That's that's my opinion. I might be dead wrong, but I still see it working better for Juve right
Yeah.
now.
And I'm going to highlight this comment. And when things go well, the are the individuals. When they go bad, it is Allegri. We haven't even said a word. And I'm not saying that this is directed at us, but I'm just saying, like, if you notice in our recap, we haven't said a word about Allegri. And yesterday's match, you know, everyone knows where I stand with Max, where I stood at the end of last season. They know where Omer stood and whatnot. Regardless of that, I've always felt that I dish the criticism out when needed to and whatnot. In yesterday's match, I actually have nothing towards Max.
No,
And I understand that it wasn't for us. I'm just speaking in general for something I wanted to point out in terms of Max because he gets a lot of heat, and I vent my frustrations about Max and my thoughts on Max or whatnot. But yesterday had, for me, little to do with Max, if I'm being quite honest, because ultimately, a game like that, I don't think there's anything that he did or didn't do that really affected this one. For the majority, for me, in the first half especially, our guys were not winning the battles with the players right across from them. And that's ultimately what this one came. The first half was absolutely atrocious. And those guys got to take a look in the mirror when you come out for a game, your home opener like that, piss poor. And for me, I don't actually put anything with Allegri there yesterday, even if we want to talk about not starting Sandro or whatnot. Ultimately, it's one blip that they found that goal in. We could have scored more. We had one taken back by a rule that I absolutely hate. I will tell you that. I hate that rule. But yeah, it is what it is. I have nothing to say or criticize about Max Allegri on yesterday's. Omer?
the only criticism would probably be playing Sandro. The rest, the guys just couldn't handle it. I didn't blame Max for this match because I don't think they showed up for the first half. None of them,
Yeah.
just like that. And I will say, a draw is a good reflection of this match. I don't think Juve were robbed here of a win, and I don't think Bologna were.
Yeah.
Both teams had their moment, had their chances. The ref was awful on both sides. So it is what it is. I mean, there are when I blamed Max last season it was because we sat back, we invited pressure, we didn't push, we didn't press, we just let everyone pass around in our half until they scored. And then we started pushing
Yeah.
back. It wasn't the case yesterday. It was different.
And to wrap up with Arbitro Nick too, in terms of the ref, he did say that he gave him overall a good score and thought he did well because he got all the big decisions correct. However, he did say that there was definite inconsistency throughout the game, and that's what obviously didn't like, or was the knock against him. But nonetheless, hey, we got to take care of business. But Max Allegri, for me, doesn't really get a whole bunch of criticism for that one yesterday. There are criticisms and whatever that will carry forth from the previous 2 seasons. We just know that because we're waiting for this team to take that next step, to switch into the next gear or whatnot. I'm going to say this, and I said this, and it had some mixed reactions or whatnot, but for me, and I'm glad to hear the news that broke out today that Miretti and Hans Nicolosi Caviglia will be remaining with Juventus, because I will say this, Miretti was missed yesterday. And I said that maybe, just maybe, too many don't give him the credit he deserves for what he does in terms of transitioning the ball for Juventus. And that also includes me. Because yesterday it was clearly evident to me that even one of our best midfields throughout last season, okay, which was the Rabiot, Locatelli, Fagioli midfield and whatnot, Miretti plays it so much differently than everybody else. He is constantly moving. You never see him standing still. He circulates well, he rotates in and out, and he finds pockets of space, and he turns the ball quickly. The only knock I have on him is the decision making at the crucial moments. But I really, really think Miretti would have helped yesterday. That's just how I feel. I'm actually happy he's staying, because I said, while I do believe a loan goes a long way for Miretti, and I still stand behind that, if you don't have a midfielder coming in that can help in that manner, I don't really see the gain there. So somebody would be having to come into the middle that can help that part of our game, okay? Because we can't bank on Pogba. If nobody's coming in like that, I'm happy for Miretti to stay. Do you agree with me that we missed Miretti in that one yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. As I said a couple of times, the midfield wasn't a good mix. And because Miretti kind of plays more centrally, so wherever the attack drifts, if it goes to the right or to the left, he's always there. Where when he's not there, then they kind of stick to their position. Fagioli doesn't drift to the left as much and offer, some pass options. And Miretti does it more. Pogba does it more. That's why I think Miretti, in a game like that, I mean, if we played a more attacking team like Milan or Inter and teams that will push us back, maybe Fagioli will be the right call. But in matches like that, where teams close up and we can't find the spaces, Miretti probably is the better option.
Yeah, I just, and I continue, this is just me, and I love him, okay? Fagioli, but I need a little more from Fagioli. What do you think? Is it too much? Are you happy with everything? I need a little more from Fagioli, to be honest.
Yeah, he can offer more. I mean, he came back from injury and didn't play all the preseason friendlies and stuff, and he just had a short appearance last week, and now he immediately started in a tough match, and so against a very well organized team. I mean, I would say the same thing for Locatelli. The class is there, we can see it, and but you're not. I don't want to say they're kids anymore. They need to pick it up
Yeah,
because there is talent there, and they were good with every team they played. But it's time you're with the big boys now. You need
yeah,
to play at that level. I'm not looking at Fajoli as this 19, 20-year-old.
yeah. And I will say this, as much as I love him, hey, I keep it even keel, everybody. Locatelli was dog shit yesterday. Absolute dog shit.
Yeah, he had an awful game.
And one of the things that pissed me off is we did so well against Udinese. We weren't doing a lot of, especially in the first half yesterday, was that movement off the ball. But there were instances, and Fagioli, to his credit, made a couple brilliant runs because Vlahovic had come in to show for the ball, and he made the run into the space behind him. Locatelli had two opportunities to pull the trigger there, and he didn't for whatever reason. Not risky, too safe, lack of confidence. I don't know. Whatever it was, it's bullshit. You have to take those shots. And if you're going to be the one pulling the strings in there, you have to take them. So I was pissed with Locatelli, and I love Locatelli, and everybody knows that I always defend him, but there's no defending the performance from Locatelli yesterday. It was it wasn't good. And Fagioli, while I say I want more from him, I expect what I saw in the second half from Fagioli consistently, because I thought his second half was much, much better. He was on the left side. He was on the right side. He was being the guy that wanted the ball and was making himself available a lot. So he did a lot of good in the second half. And like I said, he made some moves in the first half, just wasn't being rewarded. So it's good. But hey, the midfield as a whole, Fagioli was ultimately came out the best out of them, in my opinion, until Paul Pogba entered the mix. But hey, we got to improve in the middle of the park. Games are won and lost in the middle of the pitch. And you can't have a game where all three of your mids are struggling like they did in the first half of yesterday and expect to get away with it against, sides that are going to be pesky and a pain in the ass, which is what Bologna, I expect them to be all season, to be honest. So is what it is.
And what you said, that's something I expect from Allegri. I don't want him to give anyone the feeling that their spot is safe.
Yeah.
Because you said Fagioli was probably the best out of the three.
By the second half, after the improvement there,
But we all knew he would be the first one to get subbed out. Lucatelli was the worst out of the three. He should have been the first.
He was the worst out of the three. I had a moment where I actually thought about it on the watch, and I said, you know what I would maybe do? I'd maybe pull Luca and play Fagioli there to bring Miretti on. And I would have probably went that route, and I would have done so without fear. Luca was bad yesterday. Really, really bad. Yeah. And you're right about being safe.
Yeah, I don't want the players to feel safe. If someone has a bad performance and it's not his day, put him out. Once Fagioli actually started playing well, and then he was subbed off.
Yeah.
So we couldn't build on that, and the two guys that were playing worse stayed. And we all knew that they were going to stay. It wasn't a surprise to anyone. So that predictability from Max is something that maybe needs to improve. But I will say this. It's the second game of the season. I won't get overhyped because we beat Udinese 3-0 at the first match, and I won't make this one an awful event as some made it out to be. Okay, It wasn't a good match. We finished with a draw. We didn't lose it. Fine. It's not a reflection on the entire season that early. We need to see what Juve shapes out to be. So we didn't have a good match. It happens. It happens to everyone. Roma still without a win. Lazio without a win. Teams are dropping points around us, and they will drop points. Second match of the season. We always say one game at a time. So do with our criticism.
Yeah.
It was a bad game, but it was a one-off game, hopefully. And let's see how you will perform next week at Empoli. And we do have a point to prove against Empoli because of the beating we took last season.
Yeah. Storm the Barn. Get your Storm the Barn questions in. I already see one that is in. Actually, a couple that are in that we're going to get to. Swarit and Hanin kicking us off with Storm the Barn. But we're going to talk about some of the reports that came out today. Obviously, Max Allegri and losing it in the locker room, whatever. Not available for press conference, whatnot. Well, first of all, I believe he wasn't available for press conference because he wasn't feeling well, is what we heard. But now we're hearing that it was because of him losing his mind or whatnot. I think actually he was losing his mind because of the complaints and the lobbying coming from Bologna and Malta. And to be honest, I don't see it as the same approach that many are taking to on social media, which is that Max needs to kind of stop it and just focus on us winning the games and everything like that. This is a moment where Max is showing the Juventino inside of him by protecting us and essentially telling the Chihuahuas what I do all the time in this. And I have no problem with it at all. And to be honest, to get fired up, to get heated after a 1-1 draw, we should not be happy with a 1-1 draw to Bologna at home, regardless of having still respect for Mota and what they're doing. It doesn't matter. We need to demand more and expect more, and I have no problems with him telling the other team to shut the fuck up when they're looking for calls and lobbying and all this perception that continues to go around that Juve is paying refs and all this nonsense. I've said it before. I'll continue to say it again. Shit like that is made up by losers and it's repeated by idiots. Okay, so Max Allegri losing his shit and telling them all where to go, I absolutely love it and I have no problems with it. And that's my thoughts on what's going on right now in hearing about him being heated and what he was saying. So that's my take on that whole scenario. So bravo to Max in that sense. Omer?
Yeah, Max has that kind of behavior to him that he wants to stay a class above and not complain about the referees all the time and the other team and they were aggressive and they fouled us, and he doesn't blame everyone around him. I know he thinks that, but he shuts up about it. Maybe he'll yell in the locker room. Yeah, that's the place where you should let all the steam out. But he's persistent with that. He never complains about other factors and always talks about what we did and where we failed. And that's not an easy thing to do. We've seen top managers all across the world keep complaining about the system and the refs and the managements and everything. Sarri does it on a daily basis. Mourinho does it every time he loses. So I will give him that credit, and that's maybe part of being a Juve manager, and something that is expected to not bitch about the others and about everything else. And he's done that quite well. He went to the dressing room because he didn't want to lose it and start yelling on the sidelines. He wanted to let it all out, but he knew he couldn't do that out there. And everyone is looking at him, the management and the fans. So I think it was a good decision.
Yeah, I
Leave a
agree.
bit, let Ducci handle it, and not just let it all out in front of everyone.
Yeah, agreed. Now, storm the barn. Let's kick things off. Swarit comes in here saying, do we need an experienced creative winger like Berardi? And will Kostic be sold? Do we need Berardi? I actually will say I don't think so.
I don't think it'll be a bad signing, but since we're not going 4-3-3, I don't see him playing. And if he does, he will take Chiesa's spot, I believe. He wouldn't play as a right wing back instead of Wea. And so if we don't move to three-man attack, then there's no point to it. But if we do sign him, I don't think it's a bad signing at all.
Yeah. Will Kostic be sold? I actually believe he will.
I think so too, but the clock is ticking. 3 more days. I will add that Nicolas Kira said on Juventus channel that Samardzic is a name to take into consideration if he doesn't leave Udinese in the next few days. So maybe if someone gets sold, maybe his name will pop up again. That's coming from Skira.
I would love Samardzic coming in.
Yeah,
Now,
and Chesney is probably back for Empoli. That's also some of the news that's running around.
there you go. And we know we got Empoli before international break. Hanin comes in. Should we loan Houston, considering Allegri is in love with Sandro? I would not loan Houston right now, and I don't think it has anything to do with Sandro. I'm hoping he can get minutes here and there, but I don't know. I personally wouldn't. And the reason is because if somebody goes down and maybe you get a couple knocks or something like that, like I'd keep him around personally. Well, we've got Rugani behind right now, and that's essentially it, right? Rugani and Houston.
Yeah,
So I would
that's what
not,
we have.
I would not loan him out, and I would keep him around. Yes, I know it's not the same just to simply train with us, but at that age and going through all this still in behind the scenes, and if we can get some minutes here and there, I think is a big positive. I don't think we need to make the call on loaning him just yet. I think it still might
Oh
be a
my God,
little
yeah,
premature. That's me.
yeah. We forgot about Gatti. Yeah,
Yes,
and
Gatti. Sorry.
Hoysen, I mean, he's been Allegri's personal pick. Allegri decided to keep him with the team, but he was shipped off to play with the next gen, and then joined the first team like a day after. So Allegri wants him around, but he wants him to keep playing. That's actually a good sign. I don't think Hoysen has any problems. He didn't expect to be cracking the starting 11 at 18, and he's 18, and 18 defender is not something you want to put your bank on, but he is a great talent. I think he will get minutes. I wouldn't loan him out just yet. Maybe if things don't go his way and he couldn't find any minutes in a season or two, then alone at the age of 20, I think is decent and fair. But if he can keep it up and he does find some place to play, some minutes here and there, maybe it will be better. But I believe we'll see him with the next gen a lot too this season.
Yeah. I think after yesterday, I would hope Gatti gets the next call, and I would expect it, to be
Gotti
honest.
has
And
to start.
again,
Has to start.
yeah, and again, we're talking about players not feeling safe and getting that level of competition going there, right? So it has to happen, really. Now we get to the next storm the barn here, and it's from South Phoenix. Right? Can you tell me what exactly Locatelli does well? I'm trying to be unbiased and give him an honest assessment. Now, I will preface this with none of it was really evident yesterday, okay? But for me, he really is the glue in the midfield for Juve when it comes to that defensive stability, and he plays it very hard-nosed fashion, which I like. He can distribute well. I just don't know where that's gone. But he can distribute, and he can spray the ball around beautifully. I just don't know where the hell it's gone. Like, two-man pivot at Sassuolo, he is a two-man pivot midfielder. It just, a lot of it's gone. And I do wonder sometimes if it's just the style we play, because we have players, and we have, even last year, I said it all the time ago, all our players want the ball at feet, and we barely ever run into space. We're barely ever looking to play these through balls or chip them over the top and kind of send guys in on these runs. Like, it's very little, and we're just not seeing a style of a method of play that really helps Locatelli, in my personal opinion. But he does have good vision. He can distribute well and whatnot. It's just, I don't know. I don't know where it really is, but it's not just a him problem, because we saw this before with this role, and we started to take players and try to put them in this role, and you're trying to create these Pirlos when it's just not going to happen. And yeah, these are the things everyone's expecting out of the role, but all the other pieces have to fall into play, and your system of play has to match it. And I think there's a combination of both those things that are going against him, really, that would make fans feel that way. But I don't know. I like him as a player, and I think he's always got the right attitude, right approach, doesn't make complaints, holds other people accountable. And when it comes to ability, I think he's solid. I think he's a solid mid, but he's a two-man pivot mid and not a regista.
That's why I think it worked better with Miretti, because they were kind of playing like a two-man pivot with Rabiot and Locatelli, which maybe suited him more. I think the pressure sometimes gets to him to some degree, because everything is going through him. Every time we try to break out of press, it goes through him. And no, he's not Pirlo. He can't shake, three midfielders away with one, turn like Pirlo used to do. He needs to work on that. And teams kind of figured it out. They apply a lot of pressure on Locatelli, and they always mark him so he's not an option for a pass. So he has to drop down between the defenders to receive passes. I mean, it doesn't work tactically, I think, at the moment for Locatelli. And Max needs to figure it out and find a way to ease the pressure off him and look for alternate routes out of the press. And not everything has to go through Locatelli, because it kind of buckles under the pressure now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again, yesterday, not good for the mids. We'll see what happens. Meran coming in. Was playing Yildiz as a center midfielder a message from Allegri to management about needing one more midfielder? Was he playing Yildiz as a midfielder? I saw Illing Jr. being the project through preseason and whatnot, but I don't really think Max needs to send messages to management. I think there's, well, word on the street is that there might be some, posturing, so to speak, behind the scenes. But I think Max has the ability to simply go and give his thoughts and ask on what, especially with a guy like Giuntoli coming in. Giuntoli is very, very hands-on. Like, he's there at all the training sessions. He's very, very close-knit to the teams that he works at. I doubt Max needs to send a message. That's all. That's how I feel about that one, to be honest.
Yeah, it was said about Juntoli that he's very interactive with the players. He always talks to them. He always listens to them. His door is always open for everyone. That was his mantra at Napoli. The way he coached, and the way he participated in the management. So I doubt Allegri doesn't have that right to walk in and talk to him straight and needs to send messages. To be honest, I have no idea what formation we were playing in the last 12 minutes of the match, maybe 20 with extra time. So I don't know what Yildiz was playing exactly. I think Max just wanted to win and threw almost all the attacking tools he had. Because with Illing, Pogba, Yildiz, Milik, Vlahovic, McKennie pushing up, I mean, everyone was all over the place because they
Yeah.
were looking for that goal.
And we've seen that before when we're chasing goals.
Yeah.
It's drop,
Yeah, a lot.
throw everything in the kitchen sink at it and try to equalize and see what you can do. Miran coming in my opinion, yesterday showed that we need another midfielder with a different profile than we currently have. I think so, but if nobody's coming in, Miretti's staying, and I think Miretti should have been called upon yesterday. Berto, we finding out the name of the giveaway winner? Oh my God, Luca. As per, a day late, a buck short, TX Juventino is the kit winner. It's going to be announced on Twitter shortly and on Instagram and everything, and we will have to find out his location to see. If he is abroad, then we still have to choose a Canadian winner. So, yes, there you go. But like I said, announced on socials very, very soon. We got time for some more. Miran, would you bench Sandro next game? Play? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we already said that one. No question. No question. Yeah, Gatti deserves the next game for sure. Empoli away. What would you change for that game and why? Allegri, jokes aside, is it time to put Gatti in the back three? Absolutely. Yep. And it's just keeping that competition. We've said it a bunch here. Keeping the competition alive, letting guys know they are not safe. Strictly from that perspective. Mistakes are going to happen. It's not only going to happen to Sandro. There will be other guys that make mistakes. But you have to keep them accountable at some accord and let them know that, hey, there is a guy that's ready, willing, and able to come in when that happens, and you got to be sharper. So, yeah, absolutely.
I would revert back, except from Sandro, I would revert back to the lineup we had against Udinese for the match against Empoli. And, just keep it going so far. They almost all of them performed well in that match, in that formation. There were good link ups. So yeah, it didn't work out yesterday. I hope he goes with Miretti again, and for God's sakes, Gatti, Huijsen, Rugani, anyone but Sandro.
Yeah. Now, this is like perfect. This live chat, you guys, the AJC Army is second to none. Okay, so
it.
the follow-up question, okay, just perfect. Nico Lucci to start over Locatelli next game. So, here we go talking about making sure players don't feel safe. And now, are we going to apply that to Locatelli as well? I will say this. It's a little bit different for me in the sense only in this fashion that I haven't seen enough of Nico Lucci to feel confident with him in that role. And that's what leads me to not, and this is one of the things that has kind of affected me with the Rovella thing, because to be honest, I'd have no issues if Locatelli puts a stinker like that up playing Rovella to start the next game. If you're asking me to do it with Nico Lucci Caviglia, I'm not there at that confidence. But everybody's going to be different. I know a lot of people didn't think that Rovella could even cover there or be that guy, but I would have had more confidence in him. I haven't seen enough of Nico Lucci in that role to feel confident enough to do it. And I think one of our things is we may not have that guy for Locatelli this season to swap out and get the same, but Nico Lucci, maybe. What do you think?
The obvious answer is no, just because we haven't seen enough of Caviglia to know if he could do it. But what I would do is I would push Rabiot back and try to play maybe Fagioli and Miretti to the sides.
Yeah.
That's what I would try. I wouldn't bank on Nico Lucci, and we need the early push. We need the wins, and Empoli is a good chance to win and give a bit more confidence, just like Udinese were. So, no, I wouldn't do that. Not just yet.
Not just yet, yeah. Hey, we'll see what happens. Luca's got to pick it up, though. That one was brutal. But again, the majority of the team, piss poor in the first half. Tough to get results when you piss away an entire half of football. That's a trend from last season I do not want to see again. Another trend that we came up across yesterday was the 1-0 deficit. We had an absolute terrible record when going behind by 1 goal yesterday. It was a positive that I'm going to take out of the game was the fight, the intent, and the urgency right out of the outset from the second half, okay? Let's hope that they learn their lesson and that we come out strong against Empoli, get the 3 points there, and then, of course, we'll head into the international break, hopefully, undefeated, 2 wins, 1 draw. Not the worst, okay? Obviously, not the perfect start we would have wanted with those opening 3 games, but it wouldn't be the worst, and we'd still be right there on pace, all right? So Empoli is next up. This kind of wraps up everything for today, you guys. As always, been brilliant. It's been a blast. Omer, absolute pleasure, as always. For Empoli, of course, you guys know the drill. Match day live preview show. I will bring you another watch along, okay? And I'm just trying to check. Omar, are we Saturday or are we Sunday this week?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Saturday. Yeah. Lazio will be Saturday, and they play Napoli, and then they play us, but there is the international break between. But I think it's the same time, roughly 7:30. Maybe, no, it's 8:45 Italy time.
Yeah, 11:45 my time, 2:45 p.m. Eastern time. So, yeah, that's the prime time for me on the watch-alongs. Absolutely love it. But you guys know the drill. So, Sunday, September 3rd, we're going to be back at it, all right? Hey, not the end of the world. Didn't get the result we wanted, but that's the way it goes sometimes. We just got to keep on working, okay? So not the absolute worst that could have ended up. And still positive, Vlahovic looks strong. He's looking strong, and he got himself an open play goal. Got himself 2 open play goals, okay? One called back. Rabiot just barely. And I will say this. My ruling, because we had a lot of fun chatting about offsides and what the rules should be and everything like that. If my rule was in effect, Rabiot would not have been offside. I don't like the new switch that they want to do where you have to be completely beyond a defender to be offside. I actually don't like that at all. I've said just simplify, take away the extremities, take away the arms, the legs, the nose, or whatever. Just make it the torso, the waist, the hips. If you are in line, even if you're leaning beyond a defender, if your waists, okay, are in line and the majority of your waist is in with the defender, you are onside, and that would have been the case yesterday. But with Rabiot, I hate the interference rule with the goalies. Like, if you don't touch the ball, it should be nothing, in my personal opinion.
No. No, there are moments where players intentionally do that, mainly on corners and free kicks. So that's actually a good way to a good opportunity to whistle that. But Rabio wasn't aiming to disturb the keeper; he wanted to go for the ball, and Vlahovic got to it. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't on purpose, it wasn't intentional. One more point, eyes to Frosinone now a bit because we have three players there with Kaios, Sule, and Barenechea. All three of them are probably starters, so they will be interesting too. I didn't imagine I would follow Frosinone, but here we are.
Yeah. And this right here. Hopefully, Merda drops points today as well. Hopefully, that would really kick things off on a Monday in a fantastic way, okay?
They are playing away
Live.
to Cagliari.
Thank you very much, everybody. All right, for the kind words on the live show, and thank you for your continued support. Please drop a like on your way out when the session is over. If you could throw some comments in there, anything is great, and it all helps with the algorithm and the channel. All right, thank you again. Let's hope for the victory against Empoli. I'll bring you the daily news updates leading up to that one. And we might have a midweek live session as well for some fun. And I want to do a call-in where you guys can reach out through WhatsApp and everything. And we'll get you live sharing your thoughts and any questions you might have. So I'd like to do a call-in later on this week, probably around Thursday. So stay tuned for that, okay? As always, everybody, no matter what, fino alla fine, Forza Juve. Ciao tutti. Hope you have a great week. Okay, take care, everybody. Ciao.